Yes, guys, how you doing? Welcome back to another stream, and I've got a very nice panel tonight, man. We're joined by Mull from Noisy Pod, Daps from Never a Foul, and Martin from the Mancunian Way. And there's a lot to discuss, man, because obviously the City went out the Carabao Cup yesterday. There's been a lot of debate on social media about a couple of players. I just have a general chat. But guys, make sure you smash a like on the stream and subscribe to the channel as well. Of course, check out the boys' YouTube channels as well. But Martin, I want to start with you, mate, because just when we was in the green room or behind backstage, then you said you're not happy, mate, with some of the comments that people are saying about some of the players. So kick us off, Jack Grealish. Why don't you first of all talk to us about Jack Grealish, his performance last night, and then go into your little bit of a rant.
Jack Grealish wasn't good last night, but there wasn't. I wouldn't say everyone. There wasn't, apart from probably Oscar Bob and one or two others. Everyone was a bit below par. It wasn't, for me, it was about getting match fitness back. He's hardly played. And by the way, the last time he played, he assisted for a goal. Breaking news to everyone. I know everyone thinks that doesn't happen. No, I think what's getting to me is there's this rhetoric going round at the minute of you can't praise a player without slagging off another player. It's like one or the other, which I don't get. And Pep won't think like this. Pep's going to think there'll be games where I'm going to use Grealish, for example, Liverpool away, because I'm going to need the defensive aspect. There'll be games when there's a low block and there's 10 men. I'm going to need a bit more directness and I'll use Doku. But instead of using it and using it logically and thinking, we've got to destroy players. And Grealish said himself, it isn't just Grealish, it's Phillips, it's Gomez. And listen, Kalvin Phillips may not be at Manchester City much longer, but while he's here, he's going to get my support and I'm going to back him. I know I have no problem with criticism, but do it constructively. Don't do it where you are destroying. We have sat and we've laughed for 3 minutes at United fans doing this to Maguire, saying we'd never do that. It's a disgrace, and we're doing it ourselves.
Sorry, does this mean that there's criticism coming from City fans on Grealish?
Well, it was.
I'll be honest with you. It's going to be the same lot that we've had go at Edison. Same lot that have probably the same lot have criticised our board. Same lot that criticises any player that has a bad game and forgets the fact of we wouldn't even be in that game for what they did throughout the rest of the season. Do you know what? I didn't know about this because probably on Twitter, to be frank with you, and but I've just had to. On Never Foul last night after the game, I had Saeed drop in Daps tomorrow on the show. We're going to talk on Grealish. Absolutely. Do you know what? Actually, to be fair, it's now at a point where good, because this league was getting way too fucking easy. Good. So now we have to defend someone, no problem. I had people telling me, Grealish is a Ferrari with a black box in it. And I was like, okay, like I understand why Liverpool, United, Arsenal, Chelsea, all you other fans would rather see Jack Grealish play football the way he played at Aston Villa, right? I get it, yeah. It wasn't in truthful that effective, right? We could sit here, people that are my age, and go, we loved watching Matt Le Tissier's goals, right? Absolutely. We loved watching that Matt Le Tissier. But Matt Le Tissier and Southampton are sat there going, we won fuck all, right? Right now, Jack Grealish is sat here going, I'm glad I moved to City and changed the way I played and fit into a perfect machine because I'm churning out trophies. And City is sat here going, Jack Grealish was the batteries in our trophy winning machine last season. So it's just it's his first game back, for fuck's sake. And furthermore, whereas Arsenal fans, if I say, in my opinion, I'd start Smith Rowe over Havertz because I think Smith Rowe is a better player, Arsenal fans will go, well, you're just hating on Arsenal. No, I'm not. I'm comparing two of your players. And I'm saying that, in my opinion, I would start Smith Rowe over Havertz. I'm not knocking either of them. I'm saying you have two options. Same with us. We've got two options now. And you summed up perfectly. There will be games that Jack Grealish suits perfectly. There will be games that Doku suits perfectly. And that's how it is. I mean, Kalvin Phillips, different conversations. The Jack Grealish one is hilarious because it's just like literally, and they're doing the same now on Grealish as they did on Foden last season, where they're not allowing any context. There's no, by the way, this is Grealish's first game back. It's just Grealish was really bad. Like, and he hasn't played for about 5 games. Same with Foden. Foden, by the way, all summer, people said Foden must have a good season. Saka Foden, Saka Foden, Saka Foden comparisons. Foden starts the season absolutely cooking. Saka doesn't, and now they don't want to have conversation. Foden, all of a sudden, no one wants to talk about what Phil Foden's doing. This is where we just have to be this season, the City that have just lifted a fucking treble, right? And go, cool, whatever you want to say, go and spam 115 charges one more time if you want. It is what it is. I mean, I didn't know, but City fans doing it just need to do some research on the club, man.
I'm totally fine with criticism and compare. What I don't like is there's fan. I mean, they're actually tagging these players in as well. So it's like, get out my club, never play for me again. Go and die.
Grealish.
Oh well, Gomez and Phillips.
Gomez has had a good season. Bro, Gomez so far this season has been pretty good for me.
Someone was wishing cancer on them to get out the club. This is where
there must be 12. There must be 12.
I mean, of course, yeah, and they're hiding behind. And people say don't get. But do you know what it is? It's people go. It's the minority. It's not. It's getting a lot louder now online, and I don't know why. I don't. And it's weird because it's since Doku's come in. And I get it, Doku's exciting and he's vibrant.
But you're right. You can't have both. You have to have one of them.
It comes back to the Leroy Sané thing. Remember when we always wish for the Leroy Sané?
Yeah.
And they've seen Doku in Sané.
Yeah, I hear
it.
Bro, I hate to say it, but we get it, right? Especially like Martin, you'll get it. Especially the Doku thing this season. We can talk about like other elements of his game, but for me, I understand with the system that we play that sometimes can be very therapeutic, effective as hell, but sometimes, especially say we're 1-0 down, right, and Pep's trusting the system, knowing the system will work, sometimes to lift the fans, a player that comes on and just does a moment of beauty can lift the whole. Like, same way with yesterday with Newcastle, to be fair, every crunch tackle they put in lifted there's things that lift the crowd and get you behind. So I understand that with Doku 100%. But to then forget what Jack Grealish has just given us the best season of our lives, the joint best season of Premier League history, right? There's 2 clubs in the Premier League that have done that. We are one of them. Jack Grealish, and this is what I keep saying, this is not a Jack Grealish that played 15 games and was like, oh, you know what, he does a job, we'll put him there. This is a Jack Grealish that didn't get dragged in games, right? Got rested if in need be, was one of the first names on the team sheet in this machine. And now people want to forget it because on FIFA, they've probably scored a couple of beautiful goals with Doku. It's just, but let them do it, man. It's sad, man. But I do agree that any of the cancer and any actual abuse is just like, they'll be the first to, if someone gets abused that they like, they will be the first to say, you shouldn't do that. But then they won't realise, but you're doing exactly the same on a different player.
No, I hear it. Listen, let me bring in Mulv on this one. I mean, surely criticism, reasonable criticism, and without going overboard is acceptable, right? But where are you at with the Grealish sort of thing? Have you been a bit disappointed with what you've seen, or do you think it's justified?
No, because I know how to set expectations, and that's a very important part of maturing. I haven't quite perfected it, but
have any of us, bro? We're men. We don't do that.
When your manager tells you he's not putting even 1% effort into this match, he tells you that ahead of time. Why would you? What would you expect? This match was all about fitness and getting Rodri one game closer to coming back. That's all it was. You could tell he by the lineup he put out. It's also a case of really bad luck and timing, right? In that we have a handful of injuries to some of our key players. If we didn't, we probably would have put out a much stronger side. And the way Newcastle played, we would have smashed them, in my opinion. But yeah, it's just it's ridiculous criticism. It's must be a miserable existence being a fan of the best team in the world and constantly digging out, world-class players. It's just madness.
I even think as well, if these people, and I'm going to be completely blunt, and by the way, this is not a we are Manchester-based game-going fans or any of that crap. Yeah, this is like, because we know there are diehard loyal fans. Look, in fact, Mulv, you live the other side of the ocean. Yeah,
I do.
But these players, these fans that want to talk on yesterday's game, I actually question if they watched the game, because if I'm being honest, watching that game yesterday, listen, I watched Southampton last season. Yeah, that was a bad performance. If I look at yesterday, the first half performance was really good. Admittedly, maybe in the final third we missed that killer instinct, but I was quite happy with the performance overall. And in the second half, I've heard people say it was a game of two halves. First half was all City, right? Second half, yes, Newcastle had a 15-minute period where they pressed us really, really well. They're winning the ball back really, really well. Something that is my concern with Kalvin Phillips. He's not press resistant like Rodri. But apart from that second half, we were also in the game. I don't know this narrative that City were really bad in the second half. I also don't get that. Newcastle had a good 15 minutes. And let's be clear, this is St. James's Park in a competition that I think they would all agree is the most likely one for them to win this season. Whereas we're ultimately looking at it going, and I actually give credit to Pep and the players that in the last 10, 15 minutes, we were still trying to score. Because the truth is, right, we know that if we got to that quarterfinal, it probably would have been handed over to the EDS team and the EDS manager, because I believe we've got an away Champions League game. And then from there, we fly directly to Saudi Arabia, right? So the full squad, not some players, the full squad is going to be in, I think it's, is it Young Boys? Or no, it's Red Star. We're going to be in Belgrade and then a flight straight from there to Saudi Arabia with the full squad and all of the management team. So how can you motivate players to go, guys, you really need to take this one seriously? Yeah. Why, boss? Why, boss? I'm not really too sure why, but you really need to. So I actually think well done to Pep and the players that they still, and that just shows they don't want to lose. But you have to have something. No one wants to lose, but you have to have something that's driving you inside. And inside, we're looking at it going, we don't get to lift this trophy at the end of the season. So why are we even here?
Yeah. No. I completely agree, bro. I completely agree. I think it was a difficult one yesterday because we have that Club World Cup, which I don't know about you guys. And I've never, it's funny. I don't think I've ever watched a Club World Football match in my whole life, but I'd put it above the Carabao Cup.
because you know what the mad thing is. So it's the first one I'm not going to, because it actually falls around Christmas, which I'm like a big elf at Christmas, and also my daughter's birthday. And Steve's going. I said, I've got to sit this one out, bro. I can't. That amount of money with my daughter's birthday and everything, got to sit it out. But it is almost like the end of a story, if you know what I mean. Because we've won it. We've won it all. This is the one to say we've won it all. So it's bro, we've done a 4-peat of Carabao Cups. We've done a 4-peat of Carabao Cups
last night. I mean, I'm not kidding you. Newcastle did a lap of honour at the end of the game with their players, and we were like, enjoy. Because the thing is, we weren't against.
Because we don't want to be them people, Martin. Yeah, we don't want to be them people.
We were like, you know what? Enjoy it, embrace it. Because it's like I was talking to Newcastle fans, did a couple of fan camps for them, and I was like, you will look at this situation very different in 5 to 10 years time.
Yeah.
You will win a few, you'll enjoy it, but your owners and your club will start prioritising, and this will go lower down the list. Very much like, because Newcastle need that trophy to kickstart their, like we did in 2011 when we won that FA Cup. That was the kickstart to the league and to the dominance. So it could be the Carabao, the League Cup for Newcastle.
Bless them with the draw, though, because the draw then
showed you everything last night. I said for 25 minutes, we didn't have a striker. We would have a Nunes and Doku putting balls in to nobody. Yeah. At one stage, I'm sat there and I'm going, because my lad turned to me and he went, Doku's going down the wing, but there's nobody within 20 yards of him.
It's almost like
to
at one
then
point
come
Nunes
back.
was playing a false 9 or something.
Yeah,
So
it was
I don't
so
really
weird,
get.
and you could tell. And I felt sorry for Alvarez because Alvarez has now been so used to this 10 role. When he went back to the striking role, it looked alien to him a little bit. He was like, "Oh, hang on," because he kept coming deep again because he was so used to doing this number 10 role again.
You're right, Martin. I would add though, he was playing with Sergio Gomez right wing, and he was playing with Phillips, Kovacic,
Oscar Bob as your number 10.
Oscar Bobby played well, so he's not playing with any real creative players.
No, exactly. No, that's Pep said before. It was getting 1% of his energy.
It's even a point where when Doku came on, because by the way, I don't do watch longs, right? And Pete Davey from Newcastle Loaded Mag, I agreed to do a watch long with him. And it was in about the 80th minute, I realised the previous watch long I did was Southampton in the Carabao Cup last year. And I was like, for fuck's sake. But there was a point where Doku came on, and it took me a minute to try and work out even how we would, because I'm like, hold on a second. So is Grealish still playing left wing and Doku's playing left midfield now? And I was trying to work out how we're playing. And it was just, I think, the way we saw it was for me personally, I think it was about getting some minutes in some legs.
Yeah.
And it was also about, if we're being truthful, the Kalvin Phillips test. And I don't know if the fact that Nunes didn't start might be that against Wolves, we might see maybe Nunes cover pivot instead of Kalvin. Because I always look at, in an ideal world, I think where you have to juggle the games, you'd go, all right, so this game now, because the one we're all looking at, if we're being honest, is Arsenal. Before that, we have a Champions League game. Before that, Wolves. Before that. So I'd say the Wolves game, the Arsenal game are the two more important games at the moment. And so I'm thinking maybe he's playing Phillips to rest Nunes, so Nunes and cover. And I'll be honest, that's what I'd want to see: Nunes and Kovacic, not Phillips, not Phillips. I think.
Well, let me come on to that. First of all, guys, make sure you do drop a like on the stream if you've not done so already. We've got nearly 200 people in the building. Let's get those likes up. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel, and of course, check out the 3 channels, all listed in the title. Big up to Second City Saint with a super chat. He says, who cares? We beat them in the league already. Yeah, which of course was the more important game, factual information. And listen, I think probably tomorrow or when we get to Wolves, if anyone is still thinking about the Newcastle game of yesterday, they will quickly forget about it because it's completely sort of irrelevant. And just to sort of wrap up that sort of topic before we come on to Phillips, I think Jas sort of sums it up perfectly. We were 1-0 down in the dying minutes, and he did bring on Haaland. That's factual information. Big up Second City Saint there over the super chat.
Do you know? Yeah. Can I just final one on this game is, and it's really hard because I felt it a few times last night that, and I don't ever want us, and I think Pep would be the same, to be frank, and most fans. I don't ever want us to be a club that do the, it's only the Carabao Cup thing and we don't care about him. We threw it. We didn't. Pep does not want to throw any game. And me as a fan, I don't either because I like momentum, right? We would have liked to have won that. But it's that whole, when you've got silk bed sheets, how do you, and the key for me that I took out of this is, it's hard because I want to say the Premier League, but it might not be the Premier League. It might be whoever organises the Carabao, whoever organises the FIFA Club World Cup. You don't ever want people to disrespect any tournament, right? But last season, we had a World Cup, which was 6 weeks, and we had the passing of the Queen, rest in peace, and we still managed to squeeze all the games in, right? So if you could do that, why could a few people not put their heads together and work out a way from a month ago that this game could have been, the quarterfinal game could be played, and also the Club World Cup could be played with a gap to allow Manchester City to go into this and still go into it actually thinking we want to win this. And this is a thing that it probably, because to them it didn't matter, but now it could be seen how City disrespected it. I don't ever want to be that. We're not knocking it, saying we threw it. Newcastle played well and whatever, but it's hard to get up for a game when you know you can't win the tournament.
Well, that's it, Daps. You know what I mean? It's not like we disrespected it in the sense that we don't care. It's the point of, even if we would have won tonight, there's a 99% chance that we would not have won the competition because,
Yeah.
as you said many times, the game clashes, the semi-final clashes with the Carabao Cup, with the Club World Cup, and we would have played our academy sides, which, although the academy side is pretty decent, however, it has been weakened this year, they're probably going to get beat off any team that's got to the semi-final Carabao Cup.
Liverpool did it. I think they got beat 5-0 by Villa, and Liverpool got absolutely slated for it, saying, "Oh, why did you put?" And it's like, come on, man, that's not. To be fair, I hate the club, but that wasn't fair on Liverpool. They're all thousands of miles away trying to win a like bigger tournament. It's
and you know the weird thing about that is, you're looking at the draw now, United. We know we would have had
to take that seriously.
Next round, we'd had to have gone with the strongest team into Old Trafford.
Well, we can't go to Old Trafford and lose, and
exactly.
then we would have been.
No fan would have accepted that. Pep would have gone, "I can't get beat by Ten Hag here." And then you go into and then you're into the quarterfinals, and then you are your under-18s. Because, like you said, nobody in our squad, our whole 20 man, would have been there.
No, none.
We were due to play the week of the 18th. The 19th, we're playing in Saudi. So sorry,
no one would have been there. None.
Nobody would have been there. There'd have been no backroom staff, no physio, no nothing. It would have been the whole.
We would have got there. To be fair, we would have been. That's not Big Steve.
Back four.
They'd have called you lot up to go and manage it.
Oh God! Right, listen. Let's speak about Phillips a little bit, and then we'll come on to sort of Wolves. And I guess actually Wolves will probably merge into this anyway because of the midfield. Mulv, let me come to you.
Yeah.
Kalvin Phillips, I mean, he's been here now, 13, 14, 15 months, something like that. Where are you at now with this guy, man? Like, he played last night. Let me just quickly say, I didn't think he played bad last night, but I didn't think he played particularly well either. I just thought it was okay. Now, the question is okay good enough for a backup DM? Take it away.
So this should be fun. So Kalvin Phillips is an excellent footballer. I was desperate for him to come play for City. I thought that he was at his peak. He could be another Fernandinho because I'd seen him play for England and he was immense for England. And I thought he had similar qualities. But he's an excellent footballer. I don't think he's a City player. I wanted him to succeed really badly. And I would get angry when people would suggest he was, he wasn't going to work out here and didn't want to give him a chance. I wanted to give him a chance, but and he, by all accounts, he's saying all the right things about, I want him to stay and earn my place. But if I'm being quite candid, when I watch him play, I don't think I've ever seen him sprint. Which, like, my son plays. He just started playing in college, and he desperately wants his manager to notice him and get minutes. And I said, well, you better run your ass off, mate. That's the first thing the coach is looking for, So, he wants to play and he wants to be given the opportunity. But when I see him play, I'm not seeing him, tracking back necessarily with any sort of energy. It's not happening. It's not happening.
This is a thing, right? We all want it to work. Like all I get told is how much of a nice guy he is. He's the type of person that we'd probably all, he's great with his family. And to be fair, I think he actually, around the squad, is a very good addition to the actual team spirit. You see players celebrate that he's the first one they go over to. So, and that is important because I always talk about with Scott Carson, the importance of the pitch. So I get all of that. But my first issue was when he arrived and, yes, the injury he couldn't control, but after the injury, the fact that he was away at England and maybe came back a bit too overweight, that is like, bro, small margins at this club. You've got an opportunity at this club. You take the opportunities. And furthermore, that we need you to give Rodri a rest, right? We really need you to give Rodri a rest. That was a warning sign. I know he cares, right? But you're spot on. And then it gets you to be like, why? Why is he not running? Does he think because Rodri floats around the pitch that he can also float around the pitch? But it's like, you can't float around the pitch because you're not Rodri, right? So do more. I do think there were moments. There was one pass in particular that I thought was beautiful yesterday. It set up a really good opportunity. You see moments in him, but unfortunately, when you are 14 months in, you haven't hit the ground. When you get an opportunity, you grab that opportunity. There's so many examples you can look at. I mean, Rico Lewis last season, he got an opportunity, he took it, he ran with it. We can move away to other clubs. The one I always use is Dele Alli at Tottenham. He got an opportunity, he grabbed it, and the performance was so good, he had to start the next game and the next game. You can't come in and be putting in these type. And the other thing is, I'll be honest with City, listen, if you want the fans to keep backing you, just put a shift in. We will back you to the death. If we see you running, one of the prime things with Doku looks amazing. But do you know what I'm loving about Doku? Doku looks like Leroy Sané, but Leroy Sané that also wants to impress the manager. He's like working his arse off. He's got that flair, but he's also clearly, I'm at Manchester City. This is my one big chance. I am going to do everything to make sure this manager rates me, and I'm going to do everything. With Kalvin Phillips, it's just frustrating because I don't think we've ever, as a fan base, wanted anyone to succeed more. But it's just we're here going, look, we're going into an Arsenal game, and I hate to say it, bro, but I want a pivot of Kovacic and Nunes. I don't want Kalvin Phillips on the pitch because I can already see what's going to happen, and we can't be doing that. This is small margins. This is Manchester City.
Yeah, no, I hear that. Just quick this. Sorry, Mo, just quickly get these super chats in, mate. Tinsey with a £5 donation says, the consistent criticism of players start making sense when they cost us games like Sterling in his last 2 years. Obviously, speaking about Grealish and Phillips there, big up Tinsey for the super chat. LB thinks we should go for, another LB, says we should go for Palhinha in January. Good player, expensive. Is he quick enough in that midfield? Would be my only thing to cover the ground. I'm not 100% sure, but he's obviously a great player. Bayern wanted him. I don't know whether you'd be able to get him out in January, though. I don't think that would be possible. And Amar says Oscar Bob has shown more than Kalvin Phillips. Mulf.
Yeah, that's the thing. That hints at what I was going to say is that one of the problems, besides, having to be Rodri's backup, the best player in the world at the moment, and being compared to him, is that these other guys who have come in and hit the ground running are just making it so difficult for us to really rate Kalvin, because Nunez, Kovacic, they look like they've been here forever.
Vardiol's going below the radar, by the way.
Yeah.
That's my only thing on that. Is that the norm that Kovacic, Nunes coming flying? Because I remember Rodri in that first season. People were calling him Plodra.
Yeah. He was turning. He was taking forever to turn around, wasn't he? Taking forever to turn on the ball.
Do you know what it was with Rodri? Everyone was comparing him to Fernandinho.
Yeah.
Oh, fucking hell, Rodri, you did. I knew you was going to do that, Move. I knew you was going to do that. I've seen you look at your iPad and I thought, he's going to press the button, man. He's going to press the button. I wish I had that for the watch-along against Wolves when he got sent off against Forest. That would have been funny, mate.
Listen, I'm not going to say Kalvin Phillips is going to make it, but my thing for me is, and it's a hard one, because has he really properly had the opportunity yet? And even last night, I don't fully class, because like you just said about Alvarez, Phillips had Gomez and Oscar Bob in front of him. Would Phillips do that if he had others around him?
Let me pull you up on that, though, right? Because, yes, okay, the answer to the question, it's quite simple, is no, he's not had the opportunities. He's not had the chances. The difference is, though, he's not going to get the chances, because his role is a very specific role, and it's quite simple and a little bit disrespectful, maybe patronising, but let's just speak the truth. His role is a Rodri backup. That's what he is. He's not a player that's going to compete and he might get in above. Rodri's the best midfielder in world football at the moment. The only time Phillips is going to play is when Rodri gets suspended, injured, or needs to rest. And I'm sorry if that upsets people or people think it's disrespectful, but I'm just telling you the truth.
Yeah.
That is the truth.
I get that.
So he's not going to get the chance.
Phillips, who played murder ball under Bielsa, and maybe that's what's clouding my judgment. I'm not saying he's going to make it.
But he has to play week in, week out to get to that standard, though. And he's not
but the thing is, as well, that I remember when we signed Phillips, and I was very much like, it's an awkward one, because anyone joining Manchester City as a DM, no, you're coming in to play second fiddle. Unless you back. Look, I'm sorry that I can't really think of a player that actually thinks they could come into a Pep system and go, I back myself to get in over Rodri. I can't think of one in world football that would. Rodri's the best fit for Pep football there is, right?
Yeah.
But people said about his passing, and you know what? People made me think he offered something different, right? that if City wanted to play a different style of football, he offers something different. But and do you know what? I bought into it. Probably had a few too many magnums, because the truth is that's not Pep. Like, Pep is not going to go, do you know what? Just because Rodri's tired or because Rodri's injured, we're going to completely change how we play and throw Phillips in there and play long balls over the top. That's not Pep. Right. And so in hindsight, I think it was a Southampton game last season where I was looking at it going, the best answer to this, because now someone's put Paulinho. Now, are we going to manage to get Paulinho, who a lot of clubs in world football want, to come and sit on the bench? And to be frank with you, my answer would be Pep Guardiola would probably not want a player that wants to come and sit on the bench. He'd say your mentality is not correct for us. So I don't think that's the best answer. Was probably a youngster from the academy that could come up underneath Rodri and learn from Rodri and Lavia. Or alternatively, you bring in some eights, a few eights, that can also do a job in the six if need be. And I think that's what we've got. And I had Chelsea fans saying Cover can't do the six role. No, Cover can't do the six role at Chelsea, right? The six role at Manchester City, Rodri's not a six. Rodri is just a very deep lying eight, right? That's the truth. Rodri is not a Fernandinho. Rodri is not a Nigel de Jong. Rodri is a different type of, and in Cover, in Núñez, I think we've got the balance that I honestly think I'm excited to see that, because I think, although Pep said I think he doesn't know what he's going to do yet, that's what I want to see. I want to see just retention.
I'm with you, LB, on that. You just said he is a Rodri, and I totally agree with it, because unlike every other player we've signed is versatile. So Núñez can play. I mean, how many positions did Pep say for Núñez? Bernardo can go anywhere. Kovacic can do that 6 in a different way, or an 8. Kalvin Phillips is just a straight 6 and nothing else.
Yeah.
He hasn't got that versatility. So he is just a Rodri backup. That is the major problem. And hand on my heart, I know he's not going to make it. But and maybe in my emotions are clouding me up, but Cancelo and others wanted to get out of this club 6-8 months ago.
I hear that, Bob.
This kid's gone, do you know what? No, I'll stay here and fight. There was a list of clubs coming for him, and he went, no, I'm going to fight. And yet, it may be to his own detriment come the summertime when there's less clubs after him. At least he's shown a little bit of bottle and gone, I'm going to fight.
Martin, the fans should know this, yeah? Like, he's had conversations with Steve, and he cares about what we think of him, right? These are John Stones. When Ruben Diaz arrived and John Stones turned around and said, "Nah, I don't want to go. I want to stay and fight for my place," that made him a cult hero, right? The minute we hear that a player wants to stay at our club, fight for the club, fight for their position, it moves them up in any of our opinions on them, that they want to stay at the club. So I get all of that, and that's why we're rooting for him. Martin, I get it, bro. Look, it's the same as what I was saying about the Newcastle game, that we don't want ever to be seen as a fan base that disrespects a trophy. We don't want to be seen as a fan base that don't care about players that want to stay at our club. But it's
you know 100% the writing's on the wall. I know the writing's on the wall. I'm just
how many chances? How many? We've got backing.
No,
we all want him to ball out, but it's just. I'll be honest, bro. I'm being negative about him. I am being negative about him. I want him to succeed. I wanted him to have a good game, but it's just I can't.
Constructive way. It is different between doing it in a constructive way and doing it in a vile way.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm human.
But I mean, deep down, he's not going to make it, and that's awful. I know that he won't.
But I guess for him, maybe he didn't want to leave in the summer without giving it a chance, because last year he wasn't given a chance because he just wasn't fit. He obviously come in, got the shoulder injury. He wasn't fit before the World Cup. He come back from the World Cup overweight, and realistically, he didn't play any matches to get fit. Whereas now he's probably thought to himself in the summer, okay, he might have been looking around going, I'm not good enough. Who knows? But he probably thought to himself, he owes it to himself to at least try when he's fit and give it a go. And I don't think he'll be let go on in January, regardless of what Pep thinks of him. I don't think he'll be let go on in January. I think that's silly, but I think he'll be let go in the summer. And I think you're right, Daps. I don't actually think we sign a replacement for Rodri. I think we probably buy another player in the midfield and just rotate. And if you think about it, that's kind of what we did in the Centurions, because was that the year that Fernandinho was out and we played Gundogan there?
Yeah.
And he just played, and he actually done a fantastic job.
Yeah.
But the truth is, when you have a player, it's almost detrimental to you in a sense. When you have a player like a Rodri or Fernandinho, who is like literally the best DM in the world, the drop-off is so huge that the other players just never going to play. So when they do play, they just won't be very good.
And the stakes were too high, right? To chance it. No. Like we were going for things we hadn't won before, right? And making history. And Pep cannot accept that drop-off.
No, and that's where I said this at the time. If you can, we've seen Pep make those changes between August and December, right? That's where, and Kalvin Phillips, when he got back from the World Cup, that was his opportunity to land, because Rodri had played a lot of games, even before the seasons before and all of that. That was his opportunity. And for me, when he came back, it's like, I get the injury at the start of the season, but this is your time where Rodri needs a rest. We're going into a packed Christmas period and you're not fit enough. That's on you. And that's why at the time I was like, I get why Pep called him out. And, Pep's called out a lot of players at this club. Like and all the players know, all the players that are still at our club know he calls them out from the right place because he wants them to be the best players. He's not calling them out to throw them under the bus.
Yeah.
And the ones that leave are the ones that can't take it. The Ferran Torreses. They're the ones that go, this isn't like, do you know what I mean? I haven't got the mentality for this. I want him. And let's be clear, last night, he wasn't bad. You're right. He wasn't bad last night. But if Rodri was in that team, because I only look at a 10, 15-minute period where they pressed us. To be fair, Joe Linton was way too physical for Rico Lewis a lot of times. That was it, that 10, 15-minute period. And if Rodri was on the pitch and one or two others, we don't get pressed off the ball like that. We don't. Those teams pressing us the way Newcastle pressed us for that 10, 15 period often lead to us scoring goals, because that's like, you've just left a gap and we're going to expose that gap. And yesterday it was like Kalvin Phillips is helping to invite them onto us, which away from home you cannot do. We can't do that at the Emirates, or they'll get behind their team. We can't be doing things like that.
Well, he's not going to play at the Emirates. I mean, just before we move on to sort of like predicted 11s and midfields, although I'm pretty sure we'll all agree. I got a member chat here from Lauren. Yes, Lauren says 2 questions. Would you guys take Paqueta in January if he's cleared of the charges? And then a little bit of a sad one, but when KDB retires, do you want Florian Wirtz, Musiala, or maybe anyone else? First of all, I would take Paqueta in January if he was cleared of all the charges. I think he's a brilliant player. I think he works extremely hard. He has some of the most tackles made in the Premier. I've seen it on Sky. On the side of Sky Sports News, it comes up with like stats and that. Paqueta's at the top of the stats for most tackles in the Premier League this season. Scores goals, creates goals. So I'd 100% take him, and I'm not going to answer the second part because it's too sad.
I'd dodge Paqueta for me. I think he's an amazing player. I wanted him. Listen, we went over to Istanbul singing that song non-stop because they'd won I like Paqueta, but I think the club, sensational work from the club, by the way, where it came out that we're not buying him because they'd done as usual, we'd done our due diligence. We'd found out about something. Listen, we are a club where we just need to avoid anything. We don't want to be like them lot in the swamp, right?
Yeah, but bro, if he gets found not guilty, why would you not?
Well, unfortunately, because of who we are and because of what we do, that any mud, even if it isn't even muddy, gets thrown at us and stuck on us. That I think City, by the way, I think he's a great player, but I just know the way all other fan bases are, and everyone will be like, oh, cheat's getting a cheat as per usual. And I think City will go, nah, we can't be bothered with that. We're trying to, to avoid all that. And As for the other ones, I'll let the other two answer because, for me, keep Kevin De Bruyne till he's 50.
I think KDB will play a lot longer than people think he will. Because, I think I've said this before, I think he'll go deeper.
Okay, let me play a devil's advocate. Do you arguably not need more stamina, more speed when you play deeper? Because if the ball gets lost in possession, then you have to be quick to react.
Yeah,
i.e. Kalvin Phillips.
what's the one thing KDB's very good at? He could become like a quarterback because he can quite easily not 40-yard balls ping. Because what does Edison do a lot now in our plan B?
What, we're going to play KDB in goal?
No, but what it means, if you look at Edison at the moment, and our plan B was Edison ball over the top. What's stopping KDB going deeper and doing that and carrying on his career for an extra year?
I don't see it personally. Not City. I think he'll probably play till he's 37 or whatever, but I don't think he'll play at City.
I'm just thinking cutting out the middleman of Edison doing it and let KDB do it.
A move. Where are you at with Paqueta?
I like Paqueta. My instant reaction was yes, definitely go get him in January. And I hear what Daps is saying about you don't want any baggage at the club, but I think we're beyond.
That's
15 reasons where
why not add one more there, Daps, mate?
Oh, somebody's going to go, wow. How class a City for not signing Paqueta, all is forgiven,
So you take Paqueta in January?
I would, yeah. And
you know what? We got a song about him, yeah, why not? Fuck it. And we need a bit, you know what? We need a bit of a dance at the Etihad as well, don't we?
To be fair, Daps, I've never seen an opposition player go up to a management team and shake hands with every single coach, manager. The only thing he didn't do was go to the away end and shake everyone's hand.
He wanted to be. I don't know if you noticed yesterday, Pep was in the middle of all the Newcastle players going around having a chat with all of them yesterday. What are you doing, Pep?
He was sorting out Bruno G's release clause.
Yeah, I know. 100 mil.
Am I mad to think that is it Kulishevsky at Spurs would be a good KDB?
Not proving it.
KDB? No, not KDB. What, you play him in the middle?
Yeah.
No, not for me.
Yeah, no, I'm mad then.
Do you know what? I think this is often what happens, right, at City. Or not when people talk about City, they talk about who's going to replace this player? You need to find the perfect KDB. We don't. What we do is we go and adapt. And this is the whole thing in the summer. There was, how are you going to get goals without Gundogan popping up and Mahrez and all of that? And now when we won, I can't remember what game it was, but afterwards I was on a stream with a load of rivals and I go, any questions? They go, no. I go, so no questions about how we're going to get goals without Gundogan, how we're going to do this, we're going to do that. We just change it up and do something different. And I don't know, I really like this Alvarez and Foden playing in the pockets behind Haaland, because in that I think we've got two of the best players in channels and pockets, and the way both of them turn on the ball is just absolute beauty. I think we change, we adapt, and we'll come different. And I think that is what is making Pep so special. The way he's just looking, him and the board backing him are just looking, getting new tools and adapting. And
Daps, mate, I stopped worrying about players retiring and leaving a long time ago. I remember when I was younger, you know what I mean? And we had Kevin De Bruyne, David Silva. And I literally remember thinking to myself, when these leave, we are going to be finished. Yeah. And then what? Company left, he was all right. David left, he was all right. Aguero left. It's like, mate, I've got past that point. Kevin De Bruyne will leave. We will be fine. We will find a solution. We will find another player. Yeah. I think we'll be okay.
I think the other thing is that isn't being spoke about enough. There's a few things this summer. Firstly, the fact that all four of our cover, Vardiol, Nunez and Doku, all four of them have landed sensationally. All four of them. Like, Vardiol's going below the radar for me. The second half performance against Nottingham Forest with 10 men was unbelievable, right? Absolutely unbelievable. And I think he's just going to get better and better and better. Kovacic has come in and just, I don't think Pep even needed to give him instructions. Doku looks like Sane on steroids. And Nunez, that cross, the Nunez cross on Saturday, he didn't even look. He knew, right, the minute he was there, he knew, I just need to put it there, and there's a man that is going to outjump everyone and put it in the back of the net. And we've got that. And when you look at what we're doing at City with what Pep's building, we've got Vardiol and Diaz now as our centre-backs. I think, both between 22 and 25, are they? Right, yeah. And now we've gone and brought in, I think the Bernardo bit of work was sensational. Rivals will go, he's got a release clause. I'd go, great. We didn't lose Gundogan and Bernardo in the same transfer window. We managed to keep Bernardo at the club for another season. If he goes next season, fine. We've managed to keep him while we embed 2 new central midfielders. And I think Nunes could end up being a Bernardo replacement potentially. And it just shows we're so like, Liverpool have had to go and have a really good window on 8s. We don't, because we're 2-3 years ahead of everyone with what we're doing. And we're good, man. We're very good. We're very good.
Well, let me come on to some of the players that I've been impressing recently. Big up to Crosscombe Shot for the super chat. I'm not entirely sure what that was in relation to, but any chance to laugh at Martin for his right wing Alvarez shout is always acceptable on this channel.
I think he was talking about the Kulusevski shout.
All right.
I think the problem with Wirtz is I think he's too much money, isn't he?
Oh, Wirtz will be over £100 million. If he has a good year,
Don't he have a release clause this summer? Or next?
Next
summer. I'm getting
I've not seen it. I've not seen it, but he's a class player, mate.
Yeah,
he's a class player. But if he doesn't have a release clause, it'll be over €100 million, as long as he doesn't fall off. And if he has a good Euros, then all bets are off as to where it
I'd take either of them, Musiala or Wirtz. It's not exactly a bad choice in that, is there really?
Yeah, exactly. Right, let me come on to some before we wrap up. Let me go. I was going to speak about the midfield for Wolves, but we're all on the same agreement there. Big up to Protocol here. Says Martin, give City fans voices on Twitter. Big him up, please. Yes.
100%.
Big up, Martin. Let's talk about some of the players that have been impressing recently. Nunes, I think, has come in and really done a lot better than I thought. It was a little bit weird, right? Because obviously he slapped at Lisbon, so much so because obviously Pep Guardiola said he was one of the best players in his position, which he has.
And then retracted it.
He did say that about 4 days ago.
Yeah.
It's the way. Do you know what it was? It's the way he laughs about it. It's just Pep takes a piss out of press conferences. There is no one better than Pep Guardiola in the press conference now.
He was funny, man. But he's come in and done really well. And I remember when we was in negotiations with Wolves, I actually listened to a Wolves podcast. I've told this story a few times. Because like usually when a club is selling a player, the fans are gutted, right? And they're like, oh no, I don't want to lose it. Like so West Ham with Paqueta, West Ham fans would be like, no. I listened to the podcast and they were mystified as to why City were going in for Nunes, because apparently Nunes didn't do that well last year. He was pretty average, and they were like really shocked that City were in for Nunes anyway. But he has come into this side, and he has just given this midfield a breath of fresh air, in my opinion. The speed at which he moves with the ball, he's so direct. He actually is really aggressive in challenges as well. So I think he works defensively and offensively. I don't think he's the sort of cleanest player on the ball. And by that, I mean like his delivery, like maybe through balls, all that kind of stuff. I don't think you're going to see like perfect stuff like that, but it's the energy that for me that he gives us in the midfield. I think Jeremy Doku, we've not spoken about him too much. I think he is coming in, set the world. I watched him for Stade Rennes versus FC Metz, did a watch along for it. And honestly, I could tell that game that he was class. Like he was just so good. And then Gvardiol, as Daps mentioned, but I want to give a special shout out. Someone I've not spoken to, Oscar Bob as well last night. I thought it was very good. Probably my man of the match from a City point of view, and you're probably going to get more chances. So Martin, let me come to you, mate. I mean, where are you sort of at with some of these players? Who's impressed you most?
I love Kovacic.
Yeah,
I love him because
25 million as well, mate.
There's so much doubt, even by some City fans, on him coming in, on his injury record and everything else, and it was like he just got it. And what did it for me was it was a Super Cup game. Yeah. He did this run. He got into the box, and instead of shooting, he could have shot quite easily. He played a 3-yard pass to the left in the box, and I thought he's got it already.
Yeah,
he got it already. Nunes, I don't think I can actually give him a proper position I've seen him play because I don't think there's a blade of grass he hasn't covered. At one point,
he's been given a free roll, isn't it?
He was left back on Saturday against Forest at one point, covering Gomez.
And then false 9 last night at one point.
Yeah, and I'm like, whoa, where's... It was just... Gvardiol, I think, is just a Rolls-Royce defender. And Doku is really exciting. He really is, and he does give you that touch of speed. And what I like about Doku as well, you can already see the development from that very first game at Fulham and West Ham to now. Because you go back to Fulham and West Ham, it was just straight, direct run. Now, he stopped. He will play the ball back if there's nothing on. Because I remember that Rodri quote of, he needs to learn when to pass, he needs to learn when to not pass. Yeah. And he's learned that already.
Mm.
Do you know what?
Impressive.
There's so many things with Doku, and listen, I'm as biggest Leroy Sane fan as most of the younger lot on Twitter. Trust me, big Leroy Sane fan. But Leroy Sane knew how good he was, right? And at times, I remember one game in particular, he came on and Pep nearly dragged him off because he gave the ball back in a really important game and didn't chase back.
Got the Leicester one. The Leicester at home.
Do you know what? I have a feeling it might have actually been
There was a
someone
game,
like
he came
Liverpool.
on as a sub.
It's
He
more
nearly got
important.
subbed back
It
off
might
again.
have been that. There's probably more than one. But with Doku already, there's quite a few moments. Firstly, on Saturday against Nottingham Forest, he got into a position where he quite easily could have shot, but he was like, no, I'm going to play this to Alvarez, right? There's those moments. There's the moments where he knows how to just be very direct. There's also the moments where he knows how to do this is Man City, and there's one against West Ham in particular where the ball went out to him wide and he slowed the game down, stopped, moved the ball inside, right? And the whole of West Ham shifted to the right. And I can't remember who it was. Let's say it was Rodri that he played the ball to. And all the West Ham shifted to the right because they know this is what City do. They recycle it, flip it to the other side. But this time, Doku put the burners on and thought, no, we're going to do a 1-2 here, because the whole of West Ham shifted to, it got played back to him. And all of a sudden, it's like Pep is going, with this guy, he gets how to act like he's going to do the Grealish thing, but then we can switch it back to him. And he's getting involved, he's physical, and he wants to impress Pep. And I think that says more about the club, that we are now at a point where players can arrive at our club and they know, I can't just come here and play how I want. I have to impress the manager, because if I don't, this club's bigger than me, right? And Doku just looks like that. We've also got to mention Alvarez this season. He's been different gravy, and he's impressed me so much.
That's the thing for me, as well as the new guys have done, particularly all with their decision making has been fantastic since they got here. I think that was one of Mahrez's struggles when he first started out, was decision making, and why he divided the fan base a bit. But on top of that, the players, I had certain things like with Gundogan leaving, Mahrez leaving, like who was going to step up in that, and like who had other levels to their game, right? And there's a couple players that I didn't consider had higher levels.
I think one you're going to mention in a minute, actually.
Alvarez is one that you just mentioned, Daps. Rodri is the other one.
What,
Rodri is still.
I've got someone else.
I've got someone else as well.
Do you?
Yeah.
All right, go for it. Is it Edison?
Kyle Walker.
Kyle Walker.
Oh, Walker. Yes.
Yeah,
I
Walker.
actually think Kyle Walker's upped his game.
Yeah.
Last season, Kyle Walker going forward was really frustrating to the point where I'm probably documented by people going, Kyle Walker going forward. I remember the Leipzig away game. I go, he offers, apart from pace, he offers nothing going forward anymore. This season, all of a sudden, man's putting in balls. Yeah, that ball back to Foden. And at first, I thought he just didn't want to take it on himself till I got home, watched it on the TV. No. I watched his eyes. He knew exactly what he was doing. And all of a sudden, Kyle Walker, at the how is he now? 33, 34?
33. Yeah,
and all of a sudden, he's coming out like he thinks he's Trent or something. It's just,
that's as interesting to me as well as the new guys are doing.
No, I just think he's grown up. I think there's two pivotal things with Walker. The incident last year.
no more windmilling. No more windmilling.
Yeah. And also getting dropped out of the Champions League final. I think it reprogrammed him. And yeah, he had that chance to go to Bayern, nearly did, but he went, no. Had the chat with Pep, sorted it out, got the captaincy there, and it's just revitalized him completely.
Yeah.
And it's probably, and that's all credit to him and to Pep, because he's gone to, I hold my hands up. I didn't think he could do this again.
That dinner he had with Pep.
Tough. Yeah, go on.
That dinner he had with Pep. Do you think he told Pep that Pep ruined him with those comments? Pep apologized.
I think because you got right. So I don't. Pep didn't insult him, right? At the time when Pep said that, when he said, currently Kyle Walker doesn't suit the system, the way I see it is, and I've seen Kyle Walker this way for a while, that Kyle Walker knows himself, right? He knows he's an older guy, right? He knows that, but he's very confident in who he is. And I think he gets it. And I think what Pep would have said, and the media would have got, Pep told Kyle Walker, or Pep said, Kyle Walker doesn't suit the system. I think there was probably another bit to that was, but we're going to need you at some point, right? And if you look at the back end of last season, Kyle Walker's a 33-year-old when Pep goes, this is the moment. Vinicius Jr., the best winger in world football. We need you. This is where we need you. And in the cup final against Rashford, this is where we need you, right? Where Kyle Walker will go, no problem, boss. And what, me, 33-year-old Kyle Walker, gets to go and cook a little younger? Give it to me all day long. And the fact that even in the Champions League final, Pep told Gundogan before the game, as they were going in to do the speeches, save Kyle Walker 2 minutes to have a chat with the boys. Like, this is a thing. We can talk about how Ten Hag's been with them lot over there and the man management. It's different gravy over here. Pep will be stern with people, but still show them that little bit of love. And I think ultimately that meal out was just Pep saying to him, I need you. Like, we all wanted Ruben or Rodri as captain, but listen, Pep knows, no, this guy's done it all. This guy knows how to win.
I think I don't think there was much actually in that conversation because in terms of football chat, and the reason I don't think that is if you listen to Kyle Walker recently when he was talking about Pep Guardiola with his back surgery, Kyle was like, yeah, I ring him that all the time, speak to him, just see how he is. I think they have a very close relationship, which is more than football. So when people have asked me about the meal, I think that actually maybe they just went for a fucking meal,
mate. I reckon Pep was at the swingers party during COVID, right? I reckon they were actually on Deansgate windmilling together, and people just, even in the picture, actually, Pep's on his phone. Pep, they're not talking. Pep's busy on his phone doing something else. I think actually they probably were just going out, and it's just been led into more. I think Kyle Walker is so comfortable and was probably just seeing. Look, when you've won it all, and you're of that age, of course you dip your toe in the water and see what else is out there. And I think he's probably looked at what else is out there, and then he thought, I could go there, or do you know what? I could stay here, keep winning stuff, and be captain now as well. And it's just, and this is where I have to be honest. This is where, as a fan, me personally, I wanted Ruben or Rodri as captain, right? And I think when we see some of the dressing room speeches, when eventually that documentary comes out, we're going to see how it's not just about a captain at this club. Because I've seen clips, and it's so many different players getting involved and giving speeches that it just gives you goosebumps and makes you feel all as soppy and emotional as a City fan.
Well,
and
I'm with you. I'm with you, Gaps, on that. I completely agree. And I think actually that's the modern way. And I actually quite like having a proper captain. I like Ruben Diaz being a captain, centre back, typical that old school. You always used to be centre backs and have a captain. But actually, I think the modern game has developed where you do need 4, 5, 6 players who are all in a captain's group, and I think that's what you need to do. So
what we've got is if we look at so many other clubs and look at how they're trying to pick their captains, look at Chelsea is a great example. They've gone with Reece James and Chilwell, right? And like I said, I wanted Ruben Diaz, but in hindsight, I didn't want Gundogan as our captain. I didn't. I wanted Ruben probably at that point. But what a choice by Pep. Pep always goes for, no, I'm going for the person that has done it, that can tell you in the hard moments, this is how you get it over the line. I can't tell you really many other teams that have got that person that can tell you this is how you do it. Even with England, I think there's an element of Harry Kane being England captain is not a good thing. Because if you imagine, there's City players that are sat there when Kane's trying to go, this is how we need to get it over the line. Phil Foden at 22 sat there going, are you mad? And that's why even with England, Henderson, I think people look up to, because when Henderson talks, at least you can go, I get it. He has got it over the line. And I think that's what we've got. We've got
I agree. Just quickly, the players, obviously at City, the players vote on the captaincy, not Pep, but Pep lets the players vote, which is sort of still pretty impressive. But I agree on the Kane thing. And this is why I've said about England with Kane. I don't think Kane should be captain, because when you've got a player like that who's so key, I actually think it's wrong to have them as captain. Let them focus on doing what they do best, which is scoring goals, which is actually, and I know it probably still wouldn't have worked out, but if you look at United with Maguire, I think that was the worst thing that they could possibly have done, of make him captain, because he obviously knew signing into the team. I don't think it would have worked anyway, but new signing into the team, he's got to work out how to defend at Manchester United, which is different to defending at Leicester, higher line. And then he's been given a captain's armband. And actually, Daps, just quickly, that's the reason I don't want Rodri to be captain. I think he has all the materials necessary to be captain for this team, but that is the reason I don't want him to be captain, because all I want him to do, bro, is focus on being the best Rodri can be and not have to deal with captaincy stuff.
I think you're right, and that's why even with De Bruyne, I've never been a big fan of De Bruyne as captain, because I feel like it's a weight on his shoulder that he doesn't need. Like that, I've never seen De Bruyne have one of his best performances when he's captain. And if you go back to Maguire, when Maguire got made captain at Man United, I think one of the biggest failings at that, no, there's so many failings at that club, but one of the failings at that club was the fact of how long they let it continue. Because from quite early on, I thought, you've put too much pressure on someone that was a good centre-back. Just relieve some of that pressure and go, do you know what? We can't sell him, pay too much for him, take the armband off him and go back to your fundamentals and become a defender again. And we'll give it elsewhere. But anyway.
No, facts, man. Martin, anything to add before we wrap up, bro?
No, totally agree on the KDB as captain, not as captain. I think I've always found he seems too private for that. Just wants to focus on his football. Like you don't even see Kevin really going out with the players other than a club event. He's not one of these who, he doesn't go Ibiza afterwards with them all, or he just wants to go home and be with his family.
And I don't think he doesn't need an armband to lead from the front. No. Like we've got the Wolves game. We've got so many games we can look at and say, he doesn't need the armband to lead. Like that's not his role.
Yeah.
But
no, I can't wait. By the way, I can't wait for KDB to come back, because everyone's not even speaking on this. They're talking about City, and it's like, you do realise when KDB lands in January, he's probably going to get more assists than he'll probably be like second in the assist league. But
that's the conundrum with Alvarez, so I think will be really intriguing. What then? I agree with Pep. He is undroppable, but it's where you put
at the moment. I never knew he had delivery like he had until like the free kick against West Ham that he hit I never knew he had this delivery that he had, and he is the perfect partner for Haaland. Like you saw it with Messi in the World Cup. He's a selfless player that's more than happy to play second fiddle.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Listen, guys, I enjoyed the show, man. Thank you, three, for coming on, man. I had a good time there. Some good debates. Big up to everyone in the chat. Hopefully you enjoyed this stream. And of course, if you are watching back on replay, then make sure you let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. Make sure you drop a like and subscribe as well. Mulv, Noisy Pod, we're still kicking. What's going on?
Yeah, we're kicking, man. We are, Noisy Neighbours podcast, a weekly Man City podcast. Me and my mate Joey do it. There's podcasts out there for you on all your podcast apps. We did one after the weekend game, so check that out. Thank you.
Also,
thanks for having me.
Moles.
Yeah.
There was something I saw of you that was absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think there's takes, there's moments as a City content creator and City fan base, there's moments. There's the Big Steve, of course, you just don't get it moment. Bro.
Thanks.
Honestly, when I saw it, I thought, fucking spot on, bro.
It went viral, didn't it? Yeah. Off the City
rightly
report
so.
pod.
There's moments where people, and I'm like, you just get it, bro. Like, and this is the thing. Our job out here is to remind these people that just don't get it. And nailed it, bro. Nailed it.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, big up. Make sure you go check out Noisy Pod. Very, very good podcast. Daps, what we're saying, man? Where you at?
Never a foul. We're here slugging away. Had a great summer, and I'm here trying to face. I'm waiting for a proper loss, because last night on Never a Foul, I arrived thinking, right, they're going to come and try and cook me, and they all didn't really want to. So I'm here waiting for the hyenas to try and say that our season's over and that we're not going to do this or that and whatever. But get us on Never a Foul. It's quite shameless, to be fair. I tried to save it from that, but it is what it is. So
I big up Martin, mate. What's going on?
Yeah, we're actually live in 50 minutes.
There you
gonna
go.
do a Newcastle show, Wolves preview, and I'm gonna have my little rant.
Both of you, by the way, both of you two got up there yesterday, yeah?
Yeah,
Yeah.
It was a good little turnout as well. 5,000 up there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, for a Carabao Cup game that pretty much every City fan probably thought we was going to lose.
Yeah.
That is some
Hey,
effort.
by the way, you'll be pleased to know, I don't know if it came across, but City fans haven't lost the humour. We started challenging Newcastle. Is this the Etihad?
Oh yeah.
They were silent, and I was like, just never lose this.
Do you know what? The West Ham game was a lot of fun as well, because the West Ham fans that we've got a really good relationship with all of a sudden actually thought they were in a title race and turned quite bitter, which was quite amusing. But not many of us saw Doku's goal because we were all back in the concourse as usual, moaning about how bad we had been first half, and then all of a sudden we realised, oh, it's 1-1 now, and yeah.
Big up Paratosh. He says, "I'm happy that we signed Nunes and Doku. They certainly bring a certain dynamic to our team." Oh yeah, I completely agree,
100%.
mate. And yeah, I think they're both great signings at great prices, as was Kovacic. So, listen, guys, I hope you've enjoyed the stream. You know where to check the lads out, but if you've not already done so, the 3 titles, the 3 links are in the title of the video, so you can just click on that, subscribe to all the 3 channels, and yeah, we'll catch you in the next one. See you in a bit.
Cheers.